Okay, hello. We have a VOD review for Bubble. Silver 5, looks like we're starting out on Brig, but according to my notes, it's mostly a Baptiste review on Eichenwald, so let's go ahead and get started. Uh, First comment is I like Brig on, especially with the Junker Queen. I think it's really nice. Good shielding. Be careful about overpacking people, just because it only gives the 25 burst. The rest is, over 2 seconds and everything, and you run the risk of running out of packs, kind of like that. But you can't really do much about your team not just running it down while they're low and everything, especially versus like a Bastion and stuff. So biggest thing with Brig, I'm glad you walked over here and got the whip shot so you could get your Inspire going. You do want to keep your Inspire up as much as possible, like without inting. Obviously, you want to keep your Inspire up because that's what's going to prevent. That's what's going to allow you to not have to use your healing packs constantly. Okay, right there. So with Shield Bash, it's very rare that you want to use Shield Bash in the way that you did. Typically, you can Shield Bash to targets that you know for a fact you can take in a 1v1. That's like someone who's like below half and you're at full health and everything. Otherwise, you pretty much always want to use Shield Bash as an escape tool. Escape, mobility, things like that. You really only ever want to close the gap on things whenever you know for a fact you can take the 1v1. But the interesting thing is that Brig is a lot like Sigma in a way. Like Sigma wants to fight everyone except the tank, and Brig is basically like the same thing in like in a vacuum. You're fine taking a 1v1 against anyone that isn't a tank essentially. But yeah, try not to use your shield bash into enemies and stuff like that unless you know for a fact that someone's isolated and you can take them out. Good, you got your Inspire. Yeah. Zen against Junker Queen is rough, though. Right there, I'd be surprised if you don't die for this. Yeah. So like I was saying, Shield Bash, you're not tanky at all. You have that just a little bit of armor to make up for the fact that you're a melee character, but Brig is deceptively squishy. Like you feel like she should be tankier than she is just because you have a shield, but yeah, she is not. She's a very defense-oriented tank. You don't want to be tanked right there. Like you shield bash in and immediately died. Same situation. Whip shot is going to be your primary form of harass and like getting your Inspire up and everything. So really just want to be mindful of that, not taking those aggressive shield bashes in because that is definitely how you get got. Unfortunate, missed the shield bash, or whip shot, excuse me. So here you shield bash again, and now you have no way to get out. So similar situation. So really got to be careful about using your shield bash aggressively, because you're not going to be able to do anything to run away for 5 whole seconds. But yeah, Brig is, in general, really good about... Like, this is a fight you can typically take, as long as you can hit your whip shots and your other abilities. So right there, you definitely should have packed your tank. But what I was saying is that Brig, in general, is really good about not necessarily pocketing your DPS, but just being able to throw packs to them to keep them up while they're on the flank and stuff. But in general, she wants to keep up Inspired so that she can just constantly give healing over time to the other support and the tank and stuff while you use your packs on people who need them, which is typically going to be your flanking DPS, and then, every once in a while, just anyone who needs the type of stuff. Yeah, pretty good ult. Unfortunately, took a bunch of damage and I got EMP'd, but really it doesn't even matter because you already capped. I probably wouldn't even have ulted, to be honest, because the point's already capped. It's not going anywhere. Like, you're still locked for a moment at least, and like, they committed ults for it. You could have kept your ult advantage for that one. So again, I like the shield bash this time just because the Moira is basically completely by herself. But you gotta be careful. Like right there, that was really scary. But thankfully there was plenty of people there to help you. So here's kind of a tough one for Brig. I personally don't play Brig like a huge amount. I have quite a few hours on her, but I only play Brig under a few circumstances. There's lots of people who are much more versed on Brig than me, but I just don't like Brig per se on this part of the map, just because there's just so many high grounds and stuff, and Brig has basically no counterplay to get to the high ground other than walking, and you have almost nothing that's going to be able to even reach people on the high ground as far as damage and stuff goes. Yeah, unfortunate. Getting hacked is a big thing. If you point your shield directly at her, like straight at her, it actually blocks hack. That's something you have to do pretty much on reaction. She can't hack through shields, essentially. Shields, barriers, whatever you want to call them. I was going to say, be careful about going to try and take the high ground on your own. You're pretty much not going to be able to do a ton without the help of your team. Yeah, this is pretty good ult usage. Hopefully your Ana, yeah, I wish your Ana had helped you out a little bit. Just a heal or two would have really, probably could have turned that fight, but it looks like you cap anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
I'll remember that for next time. You won't get the best of me. How can I adjust?
Yeah, so a big use for your ult is whenever Ramatra ults, if your team is behind your shield while you're ulted, it actually breaks line of sight for his ult. Obviously, he can still punch through it, but if you hold it up for like the 3 seconds or 4 seconds, I can't remember exactly how long Ramatra ult lasts, it can actually just let his ult tick all the way down. Yeah, right there. That is an example of a good shield bash. So whenever you do a shield bash on a target that's 200 health, you want to shield bash, swing, and then whip shot. And then that'll be enough, unless they're being pocketed or anything like that. That'll be typically enough for you to be able to kill someone who's 200 HP. Unfortunate. So Brig is one of those characters that seems very easy and simple on like a base level, because it's not like, none of her abilities are typically like hard to use. But the thing with Brig is that because she's melee and has very limited, limited options as far as how to take a fight or support, she's actually one of the hardest supports in my opinion from a game sense perspective. Because you can't just be like a tank and mindlessly go in and like people will be able to keep you up, because you still only have 200 HP and a little shield. But yeah, I like Bap more. Right now you're being a little bit too aggressive. Okay, so first comment I have for you is your cooldown usage. Whenever you, as Bap, your cooldowns are 15 seconds and 23 seconds. If you use your shift, you pretty much give up any pressure you have, like any retaliatory pressure. Like if you're being pushed on, your shift is what gives you the ability as a team or as a person taking a fight to press shift and immediately turn the tide of the fight. Because let's say it's a 5v5 team fight, you're being pushed as 5. Everyone on your team, like, let's say they take a big chunk of damage, like you get EMP'd or something, and everybody's like getting down to about half or a little bit below half. If you push shift, basically everyone in your team immediately is going to get 100 HP back, and everyone except the tank is going to immediately be back at full HP. So the thing with your shift is that you really, really want to save it until it's a situation where you can get max value out of it, because for the next 15 seconds, if you get pushed or if you want to make an aggressive play, you're not going to have your shift in order to turn the tides like that. So got to be really, really careful about that. And the same thing is that BAP is just very weak in general if you don't have your cooldowns for that reason, because like Lamp is a get out of jail free card and Shift is a get out of jail free card. And then them in combination can let you survive basically anything. But you got to make sure that you don't just waste them, you know. Cooldown management, very, very, very important. And then a big thing here is like you kind of have yourself pinched into this small room. If you were, it would have been better just to like set up here so that you have cover and everything, and you can have a full view of like what's going on in front of you, because this would just give you so much room to maneuver as far as what you want to shoot, who you want to heal. In there, you're basically just like delegated to only right clicking on D.Va, right? You don't have anything else you can do other than just shoot healing grenades at D.Va. It just gives up a ton of like the other half of your kit. Whereas if you go here, you both have more places you can go to if something bad starts happening, and also more options. Whereas if you get pushed while you're in that room, your only option is go this way and hope that someone doesn't come to cut you off. So that's a big thing. That lamp, I don't know, like, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but that lamp, they're not even low. They're in no danger of dying at the moment. Lamp is a very long cooldown. You got to be careful with that type of stuff, like I was saying. It's a big deal to not have your cooldowns as Baptiste. Because, like, you have neither of your cooldowns right now, so pushing is relatively risky, but it looks like it's going to pay off. Good shots, good kill. Shift, shift, shift. I wasn't looking at your cooldowns there, but you may have been able to save D.Va's mech, and then especially in combination with your shift. So you need to be shooting there. There was a bunch of people in the back who were getting really low that you probably could have taken out yourself or helped taken out. You gotta be utilizing both of your bullets and your healing grenades. They're both very good in equal measure, especially on backline and everything like that. But yeah, big thing, positioning and cooldown usage when it comes to Baptiste. Positioning, you always want to be in the best position you can in order to shoot and heal. Because that's the biggest power of Bap, honestly. Is that he can do both while losing nothing. You're in a pretty aggressive spot right here. Be careful with doing stuff like that for too long. Like, you do want to, you want to be able to shoot and heal. But you typically don't want to be the first person in the front of everything. Lamp, completely unnecessary. No one's in threat of dying or getting bursted down right there. You just have to kind of be mindful of what their team comp is. They have a very, again, the shift was not good either. They have a very consistent damage comp. They don't have a ton of burst. Like, other than Zen 5 Ball, their burst is very limited. I'm glad you didn't shift that. No reason at all to use your ability there. Zero reason. You got no value from it. Now there's probably a team fight, and if they knew that your shift was down and just ran, a lot of your healing capabilities would have been on cooldown, essentially. Typically you don't need to use both of your cooldowns in succession like that. Both of them were pretty low value. Lamping an Echo clone after it's, they've already been cloned for a while is just like super, super low value. She's gonna revert anyway. See, that's a decent shift just because it also gives you the ability to keep your tank up while being able to actually shoot at the same time. without too much worry that they're gonna die in the meantime. Just need just a little bit more there. The shift is early. It's almost always better. I mean, don't let people die, but it's almost always better to shift later than it is to shift early. Just because all of the power and shift comes from the fact that if people are below half, they get 100 instant HP and then 50 over time. Whereas if they're above half, they only get 50 and 50, which most of the time they don't even, if they're above half, they don't even need either. Alright, so this is going to be more of a high-level awareness one that I'm going to talk about here. So, let's just back up just a smidge. So here, things, you know, you're playing. This is fine. This is a fine position and everything. It's not the worst. So now you start getting pushed. And you throw a lamp. The lamp is good just because there's someone who's actually going to benefit from it in the back. So you're over here. The enemy team is still here, but they're going to start pushing in and in. Like they have two ways that they can go. You're facing your team right now because I mean that's the correct thing to do. Like this is where all the pressure is. There's people who are vulnerable and everything. But watch this. So while you're distracted, the enemy team starts making their moves towards you. And you're just like, you've completely forgotten that the other members of the team exist. And you get into a position where the bastion's on you and you end up having to use your shift on yourself. When in reality, whenever that pen happened, you should have been moving in through this cover or in through here. I personally would have gone through the house to get to the rest of your team to help take care of the Ramatra and then be with your team to regroup, and then you can take up your defensive positions after you've taken care of that. But you've just basically completely forgotten that the enemy team is pushing you, and you end up having to shift in order to live. And then your team really, really, really could have used that shift right now, right? Like, it legitimately would have been a big deal for you to have that shift. And it looks like you probably end up losing the point for it. Not sure.
Another go, maybe.
Maybe you get a retake. Nope, it gets taken.
Group up with me.
I'm on my way. We are falling apart.
Try not to play too far out in the open like that.
Someone has to keep you alive.
It's fine to play that corner, but you got to be careful about playing that platform. You should still be shooting. Not sure why you're reloading. Shoot, 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 shoot. You have an ult up. Just shoot. Just shoot. Not sure why you're reloading there either. Your team's going in. Your tank's gonna die. Your tank's gonna die. You're gonna die. You have abilities. Yep, unfortunate. That one you seemed really confused on what you should have been doing. So your tank goes in aggressively. If there's people here, you need to rotate to where they're not going to be. It's kind of like you got to make these decisions before they become like do or die, you know? I appreciate the fact that you're not a heal bot though. Taking this position is fine, but you have to do it fast. Shift yourself, good kill. Yep, kill him. I would even, yep. You should have dropped probably. You need to drop, you need to kill him before you can get that health back. Unnecessary. The only time that I like preemptively lamp myself is if I'm gonna take a duel with a Hanzo or a Widow. Just so that the chance of me getting tapped is gone. Here, unfortunately, your tank decides to go in whenever you're not really ready and you're getting trans and annihilated on. That's unfortunate. You can't really do anything about that.
On my way.
Repositioning.
Here, you kind of want to be careful about taking too aggressive a position. So, some decent spots that you can play that are further back are here, just because they're unless your team is like aggressing as 5. You can take it. You can take safer spots like here, backing over here. Just being up too close is it's just pretty dangerous overall. But I mean, this is I'm not saying you're doing that right now. Like I just mean that in general, as BAP, you want to be in a position where you're both safe and easily you can easily reach both your team and the enemy team with your effective range. So the range of Baptiste's gun is the same as Cassidy's, and then your healing grenades are obviously projectiles. You just kind of have to get used to the you just kind of have to get used to the arc on them. So this is a general tip with Bap's ultimate. So for his ult, you're typically going to want to use it on a corner, and then you're going to want to use it in like a diagonal like this. This is fine. Like this is probably good even. It's a little bit far up just because if they were like aware of this, if they push through the window, you lose like all the value on it. You kind of want to put it pretty tight to where you are, just to where they have to push really far up in order to get through the window and stuff. But I think this is fine. It's going to take off a bunch of pressure at least. And then, yeah, the big thing, this is just because they have a Sombra. EMP does blow it up, but like, Sombra ult is just one of those things, you know? If she's using it just to kill your window, who cares? Yeah, so that shift was bad. I've talked about that enough.
You're going to be
60 seconds.
immortality field deployed. Stay in the circle.
This, like, see, this is what the position I was talking about before. As long as you're not just like 100% in the window, good thing you guys noticed. Good job. Good kill, good kill. But yeah, that position in the window, as long as you're not just putting your whole body right in there, is a pretty decent spot to play. Just because you get full info on where everything is and where everyone's coming from and all that. Bad lamp. I would honestly say that your biggest thing on BAF is just bad cooldown usage, honestly. Like that, horrible. You're beat it. Like, what do you need that for, you know? Good kill. It feels like you're just using your cooldowns like on reflex instead of like with a purpose in mind, you know? So good job you won that round. Big things are you got to be better about using your cooldowns consciously, not just using them reflexively. And then your ult could be a little bit better, and then obviously you just want to take positions where you have more options, essentially. So like playing this room, it's fine in some situations, but you're pretty much trapped in there, and you can only do one thing. But otherwise, nothing crazy. I think you did fine. Uh, you'll improve with time. Big thing, cooldowns. BAP's cooldowns are just super duper duper important. Just take that away from this, okay? Thanks.